Hi, and welcome to iTentive Healthcare Solutions webinar. We're excited to present ChartGuard, or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. We're excited to present chart generation in the moment with ChartGuard OnDemand. My name is Chelsea Grover, and I'm the Marketing Communications Coordinator from iTentive. I'd like to take a moment to explain the process for today's presentation. First, I'd like to mention that this webinar will be recorded and that we'll send out a copy of the slides along with the recording within the next week. Next, for those of you who aren't familiar with iTentive, I wanted to share a bit of who we are with you. We specialize specifically in NextGen healthcare, and we're passionate about providing solutions for our healthcare provider partners, which in turn help them to improve patient care, enhance the patient experience, and maintain a financially healthy practice. To sum it up, we do everything NextGen. We also have a number of NextGen add-on productivity solutions, including ChartGuard, Refund Manager, Unapplied Deposit Manager, and Multiple Encounter Billing Manager. So I want to get started with a quick 3-poll question for today. Just to set the stage before I launch this, the background of it comes from a recent conversation with one of our ChartGuard OnDemand clients who told me that their person can spend 4 to 5 hours each day processing their medical records. So this made me wonder, is this the average, or is her practice better or worse than others out there? So with that in mind, I'm going to launch this quick survey just so we can get a better feel for, where everybody else is standing with this. So first question, if everyone will take a look at their screens, again, real simple 3-question quick survey. How many hours do you typically spend in the week fulfilling medical record requests? Less than 5 hours, 5 to 10 hours, 11 to 20 hours, or more than 25 hours a week? So again, if everybody just take a quick second and fill this out. I like when this client told me these numbers, I was aghast, honestly. So maybe this is normal. I don't know. That's why I'm asking. So we're going to leave this up here for another few minutes. Looks like we have about 50% of the votes in. We're going to go ahead and close this one in 5, 4, 3, 2. Looks like a lot of them rolling in under the wire. And 1. Okay, so let me go ahead and close this. And I'm going to share the results so that, you guys can kind of see maybe where your practice is compared to others. Again, this is not a very good random sampling since it's not like we're doing a huge poll of the whole NextGen universe right now. But here's how you might stack up to other people that are on our webinar today. And there are a good number, so don't feel bad. Okay, next one. Let me hide this one. Next question. We're going to launch this. What is the volume of patient medical histories you generally generate or typically generate each week? Less than 10, 11 to 25, 26 to 50, 51 to 100, or more than 101? So again, if everybody can take a moment to answer this question. And thank you all again for joining us today. This is the first time that we've done a webinar on this product. We've had it for a while now, but it's kind of been something that we tend not to mention much until we're talking one-on-one with somebody and the situation arises. And clearly from the registration results, a lot of people seem to have this problem. So I'm glad that we finally put this webinar together, and I'm sorry it's been so long. I hope that you haven't been sitting on this pain point for too long, and hopefully you'll be able to find some possible options that could help your practice. Okay, so I'm going to close this one in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, let me close this. Let me share these results again so you can see how you stack up to the other practices that have joined us today. Looks like the majority of you are in between, well, 51 and above, basically. So that's a lot of histories you have to generate each week. Okay, last question, and then we'll get to the good stuff. Okay, quick one. What frequency do you typically process medical record requests? Is it daily, weekly, monthly, or upon request? So if everyone will take a look at their screen. Ooh, interesting results so far. A lot of people saying it's a daily task. We'll give everyone a few more minutes to vote here. Oh, looks like immediately upon request is starting to get some momentum too. Okay, so we'll close this in 5, 4, 3, 2, and closing. Okay, so this is interesting. It looks like for most of you, it's either daily or immediately. With a couple of you, I'm presuming scheduling it so that every Tuesday or the first Friday of every month, you guys do it. So let's keep going here. Let me hide these. And let me introduce your presenters today so I can hand it off and get to the meat and potatoes. Tom Seco is Itenev's Business Development Manager, and Joe Schultz is the Director of Product Solutions at Itenev, which means that he and his team are the people that actually wrote all the code to this powerful tool, and thus is going to be in a great position to demonstrate it. So Tom, it's all yours when you're ready.
Okay, thank you very much, Chelsea. And thank you everyone for joining our webinar, as Chelsea mentioned. This is an agenda of what we're going to cover today. So for today's webinar format, I'm going to take you through a couple slides in beginning to set the stage for what we are going to see in the demonstration. And then I'll turn it over to Joe, and he's going to take you through the demonstration of ChartGuard OnDemand. At the end, we'll turn it back over to Chelsea, and as she mentioned, and we'll answer any questions that you have at that time. So when we're done, our goal is that you will have learned how this add-on product, ChartGuard OnDemand, can help you become more effective and more efficient processing and fulfilling the various medical record requests that you receive on a daily basis, weekly basis, or monthly basis. The goal with all of the add-on products that we develop here at Itenev is to increase productivity, increase efficiency, and make the job or task much easier to do. That's what we do with all of our products and what drives all the products that we develop. With ChartGuard OnDemand, we do this by automating what we've learned to be a time-consuming manual process, as Chelsea mentioned. As she mentioned, we've heard stories of clients and prospects having to basically cut and paste patient record information from various areas to create the appropriate document needed to fulfill the request. So as you can imagine, or as you probably have experienced, this can be quite tedious and time consuming. Using ChartGuard OnDemand, you'll be able to significantly reduce the amount of time it takes to fulfill audit requests and review requests from insurances. You'll be able to reduce the amount of time that it takes to fulfill medical record requests from attorneys. In 15 minutes, you can provide a patient their medical history in PDF format on a USB flash drive if they walk in and request it. So it makes it much easier to share medical histories with patients, co-managing providers for continuity of care purposes. And we've seen it used for providing departing physicians the medical histories of patients that they have served for the purposes of continuity of care. So how does it work? Well, by using the interactive user interface, you can selectively choose the patient or patients for whom you want to generate a patient chart. So you'll see how this is done in the demonstration. You can control the type of information and the depth of information that goes into the chart that's being generated as well. A nice feature of the product this product is that it can run against a report database, so it doesn't take time away from the users on a production environment. So I think you're going to see in the demonstration, how robust and flexible this product is. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joe, and he's going to take you through the demonstration.
All right, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Chelsea, and thank you to everyone who's joining us today. We appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day. The good news is this is a quick demo because the product is super straightforward in the way we've designed it. ChartGuard OnDemand was created in response to our clients who loved our original ChartGuard business continuity solution, but also found the need to generate the PDF files for the cases that we talked about earlier, right? These various audits and providers leaving, things like that just happen in our day-to-day operations. So they came to us and said, hey, we love this ChartGuard stuff. We love this PDF format. It's great. We can read it everywhere. How can we do this for specific populations of patients? So we worked with them and created a user interface that birthed a new version of ChartGuard, and that's the ChartGuard OnDemand product that we're looking at today. So we've been able to leverage a lot of the great things about our original ChartGuard continuity product and bring that into a product where you control what's going to be pulled from the database. You can do it within several minutes after kicking it off and finding the population that you want. And the end goal was really to save you those hours and hours per week of pulling charts. And when we got down into the detail of the process, we found out people were screen printing, people were printing various reports and trying to assemble them together into an actual, chart per patient to hand off to those who needed them, whether they were some kind of auditor or again, a provider leaving the practice or, some kind of review going on. So what I'm going to show you here real quick is how this works. And I'm going to start by doing a simple request to get that going while I talk to you about the rest of the product. So I'm going to pull up here a quick search, and then I'm going to, just pick all for my population. Again, we'll go into this in just a second, but I just want to get this running so that we have charts to look at in a couple minutes. Now going up to the top part of the screen here, the search box, this shows how we're going to find different populations, and this is always growing. If you're familiar with Itenov and our products, we know they're continually being enhanced based on requests coming from practices that people like yourselves work in. But obviously we have information or fields in here to be able to pick a specific patient, right? We can do last, first name, person number, or various other numbers that might be out there. Again, we've run into the cases where people are working off different reports and spreadsheets, so it may be easier to use one method than the other to target a specific individual. For the case where maybe a provider is being audited or maybe a provider is leaving your practice, we obviously allow you to select the charts for a specific provider and pull them up. For the case where you have an insurance coming to you and saying, you know what, we want to review, all charts for where we were the primary payer for the last, several months. So we can go ahead and pick the provider or the insurance by financial class and pull all those in. And we can even set the range for the months we want to look at, because a lot of audits just concern, a frame of time, not, the entire 10 years you've been on NextGen or 15 years the patient's been coming to you. So we give you the ability to scope these down and look at what you care about. Now this helps you find the patient population on the left side here. And on the right side are the different categories of information that can be pulled into the charts. So we have great things like a demographics page that gives the, obviously name, address, primary insurance, guarantor, great things like that. We have the module data, allergies, medications, labs, histories that can be pulled in. One of the great things about this is that we can also pull in data from both EHR documents and Document Manager. So if you have different kinds of different categories of documents you want to pull in, we can pull all that together and it comes out in a single PDF file. So again, you're not having to like print separate things and then try and copy them and make them look like it's the same file. This gives you a PDF per patient of the clinical history that you need to provide for the scenario that you're in. Now, as I discussed, we went ahead and issued a request to generate the charts for my test patient population here. So down here, we see that the requests, we have them pending. I'm going to go ahead and look at where they're at. So I'm going to go and pull them into my history screen. And we'll see again by patient. I'm going to sort these a little bit. Patient, the request date time, what the current status is, and for the most part, the engine's gone through and completed them. All right, so in those few minutes I've been talking, hopefully it didn't seem like a great amount of time, but you never know. It went out and created PDFs for all these patients. So I can come here now, and if I want to from within the interface, I can say, you know what? Let's go ahead and view this. So the interface is going to do tracking if you only provide the end user with access to the interface. All right, so we pull up our PDF file that was created just out of the data that was available here. So we can see our patient data sheet here, allergies, medications, problems. We get down into EHR documents, and all that information is in this single PDF for this patient. So it's great because it is segmented. So you have one PDF, one chart per patient, just like we would have in the paper days. But now you can provide that to whomever needs it. If it's going off site, you may have an encrypted drive or USB stick that you're going to throw it on and provide it to them. Or even if they were in your conference room and off network and you wanted to provide it to them so they didn't have to get on your network, you could certainly do something like that. The PDFs are bookmarked, so we get the various chapters in the PDF, so you can simply just jump between them if you're looking for something specific. This one here is kind of a shorter PDF. Real quick, I can show you a little bit longer one that we use as an example, just to give you a better idea of all the different things that can be in one of these charts. Thank you, Adobe, but we don't need a tour right now. And we can see in this one, we have more categories that had information in them that we pulled into the chart. We have the documents, we have ICS, or now Document Manager, and we have different information pulled in from there. So it makes it really easy to get this information out of the database and into a user readable format. And that's really the goal, is to save you the time of building this manually, right? From all the different bits of NextGen and having to come up with this chart. Now, if you did have the case where you wanted to pick a bunch of these, obviously you could open them up to view them, or you can give access to the working folder where these land, and then you could move them to an encrypted hard drive or USB stick. All right, so that's really how ChartGuard OnDemand works. We give you a user interface where you select your patient population that you care about in order to solve the scenario you're working within. The system will go off in the background and generate those charts. You can come and see if they're all completed or not, and then you can review them here and the system will go ahead and track them. So it's written to be very straightforward, and in your benefit today, it makes for a very quick demo for us. So I'm going to go ahead now and turn it back to Chelsea, and we can handle any questions that you have.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And again, if you have questions, you can type them in the questions area of the webinar control panel. I know that this was really fast, and we did that on purpose. We know how busy you guys are right now, and we just wanted to try to get this out there so that you can keep moving and maybe even get some extra time back in your day. Okay, so first question, can you filter the information by providers?
Certainly we can. There's, again, several different ways to filter, and we're always looking for new filters that people need. So if there was, some other way we needed to filter it, we could work with you on that.
Okay, perfect. It looks like we have about 3 more questions. So if you have any, now is a great time to ask. How customizable are the charts?
For the charts, as I showed you, we have different chart definitions that can be set up. And you can pick different sets of these that you want to use for different scenarios. So right now I'm just in the default set, but say we didn't care about the histories, we were only caring about the actual care given, then we could turn off the history section. Or if there were certain documents we wanted to pull and we only cared about those, we could go ahead and turn off the information up above. Or if we had someone who wanted to see what we were billing, we could certainly turn on the account summary pages and have those produced at the end of the charts. So you do have quite a bit of flexibility.
Great, thanks, Joe. Another question, will an email go out with the recording and the slides? Yes, it will. I'll send that out probably middle of next week. It's worth noting that we'll send out the slides, but as you just saw, most of the demo itself was done through live screen sharing. So the recording is really going to be your best bet to see that stuff, but we would be happy to send those out, and we will for everybody who registered for the webinar. Next question, can you talk about the pricing?
The pricing is, I guess there's 3 components to the pricing. So there's the license fee for the price for the software, and that's a one-time fee. There's an installation, configuration, and training fee, and that's a one-time fee. And then there's annual software maintenance, and that's your only recurring fee. With regards to the individual pricing, we'll need to talk about that because it's based on a number of practices that are using the software within your organization. So you can give me a call. You see my information up here, Tom Seco, as far as my email address and phone number. So you can give me a call and we can talk through it.
Okay, so it sounds like it's pretty customized based on the practice. So I think that that's a better conversation for one-on-one. And again, it's not a secret, just it totally depends based on the practice. So we'd love to talk with you further about that. Next question. Where does ChartGuard OnDemand get installed? Joe?
I'll go ahead and run with that. Yes, ChartGuard OnDemand gets installed at or near your data center. So if you have NextGen hosted in-house, we'd recommend installing it on a server or workstation that's available during the day. And as Chelsea mentioned, we can point against your report database so you don't have to bog down your production database with chart generation. If you're hosted, you have two options depending on the size of the pipe to your hosting. One of them is to install it locally and have it run across the network to your remote data center that's being hosted, or we can work with you to contact your hosting provider and again have it installed on a server over there. That would be in the data center and that would speed up the chart generation because it wouldn't have to come across the network. So it is flexible on how it gets installed. Probably the key takeaway is that this is not something that's cloud-based where your data goes yet somewhere else. It's something that gets installed where your data already resides, whether that's within the four walls of your main location or if it's within your current hosting provider's infrastructure.
Great, thanks, Joe. Looks like we had a similar or a question that segues well into it, what you just answered. What is the installation timeline and training required?
The installation timeline is fairly quick. Most of it is just administrative. It's getting a meeting with you and having your team determine where we're going to install it and then doing the install. The actual install is usually 90 minutes or less. And again, if we're working with your third-party hosting provider, we can be on calls with them to provide them with the information needed for what's required to install it. The installation requirements for where ChartGuard is going to run aren't, real excessive. If you think of like a mid-range PC or having that capacity carved out of a server, that would work just fine.
Great, thanks, Joe. Next question. I was not able to join on time. Can I have the info sent to me via email? Yes, absolutely. Teresa, we'd be happy to either reschedule it or send it to you. Again, we will send out a link to the recording and the slides to everybody who registered. Just as an FYI, we do this for all of our webinars. We know how crazy and hectic practices schedules can get, so we always send out a link to the recording and slides to anybody who registered, whether or not they're able to attend. But thanks for your dedication to jump on right now. And looks like this might be our last question, but we'll stay on in case people are still typing. I know you mentioned we can filter by provider or patient and for a certain time range. Can we filter by both simultaneously for a particular patient? For example, if we have a request from Bob Test 2020 to 2021 for Dr. Smith.
Absolutely. You can, these different drop downs here, if you select them together, you get kind of the further filtered view of it. So you can pick provider, you can pick financial class, you can pick date range. You could even look for all patients starting with the letter A if you wanted to. So yes, they all work in combination with each other.
Actually, Joe, since that was the last question, do you want to show that screen one more time? I will make you the presenter.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
All right, so here's the search criteria. So we could pick one from here, we could pick something from here, we can set date ranges, and it'll use that to filter. It'll basically build it all together when it does the filtering for you.
Neat, all tidy in one place. Well, again, we will hang on for, oh wait, we got another one. Okay, do those fields just filter out which patients are found, or do they include the filter data that includes the two parameters?
It's basically by encounter range. So this is the patients that are going to be found that meet the parameters that we see up above. Okay, and then we can pick within that, if we only want charts. So if the patient's had an encounter within the last 3 months, but we want all charts for 6 months if they've been here within 3 months, so you can kind of build that type of scenario too. And then again, off to the right here, we can pick the various items that we want in the PDF that's going to be generated. And
Okay,
if there's
yeah.
something we don't do yet, we'll be willing to talk to you about adding it into a future release.
Yeah, I mean, as Joe mentioned, we kind of made this based off the request of one of our clients. So if there's a feature that you're looking for that you think this could make the difference for our practice, talk to us. It never hurts to ask a question, and that's how we make our products better. So we're happy to chat. Okay, looks like we have another question. We host NextGen on an enterprise. Can this be practice specific so another practice on the enterprise does not see other practice patients?
Yes, it can. What we do is take the user ID that it was launched as, look at what practices they have access to in NextGen, and present them with, you're not seeing it here, but with another drop-down list of out of their universe of practices, which one they care about. If they only have one practice, they can only look at one practice. If they had 10 practices, they could look at 10. Perfect example, you had a specialty, right, who had a practice for the clinic, practice for the surgery center, and, maybe their ophthalmology, so they have an optical practice. So they might see all 3 of their practices, but they won't see the other dozen practices that you host.
Great. Well, again, I'll be sending out a link to the recording along with the slides, probably middle of the week next week. You can always feel free to reply back to that email if you have any questions. And otherwise, I think we can get Tom's information back up on the screen. Tom, if you want to show that slide. Any way you can get a hold of us, we're happy to help. That's why we're here. We're here to answer questions. As most of you know, as I recognize a lot of the names that have been on here, you've been on our education webinars, you know that we're here to help. So any questions you have, feel free to reach out to us. And any way you can get a hold of us, we'll get it to the right people. So thank you all for joining us. And if you'd like a further one-on-one demonstration that we can go specifically into your practice needs, we're happy to do that too. Just let us know. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this, and everybody have a wonderful day and a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you very much for joining us today.